Okay, so we started Hilchot Yom Tov. The last time we learned this Tzurba on volume 23. We're on page, well, we're going to be starting on page 87 today, but we're going to do a review. And you can use the review pages at the end of the shir. They make a beautiful chazara set up for you. So you can go to page 104. On page 104, we have a review, a summary of the halachot that we learned. So the first halachot that we saw last week on Hilchot Yom Tov, the 9:45. 9:45. So the Rambam says there's both a mitzvah aseh and a mitzvah lo ta'aseh about not working on Yom Tov, not doing Malechet Avodah. Okay? And the Rambam said that if a person did do Malechet Avodah on Yom Tov and he had hatra, he had warning, what would he get? Malkot. Just Malkot. There's no hatat if he did a b'shogeg, and there's no karet if he was mechalel Yom Tov. That's only Shabbat. Karet, skila, hatat, that's Shabbat. Yom Tov, that doesn't have. Okay, that was the Rambam. We saw in the Shmirat Shabbat Ke'el he said there are 5 mitzvot that are associated with Yom Tov. 2 that are d'oraita, and which are the malacha of not doing malacha, right? So one mitzvah is not doing malacha, that's the oraita. Kol malacha lo ta'asu bahem, don't do malacha on the day of Yom Tov. And the other one is simcha, simcha of Yom Tov. Those two, and we're going to explain what simcha is later. Those 2 are mitzvot de oraita. And then there are 3 rabbanan. 3 rabbanans when it comes to Yom Tov, which are zichira, which is kiddush, right? Kavod, honoring Yom Tov, and oneg, and enjoying the day. So you have a total of 5 mitzvot associated with Yom Tov. Now, if you look at page 104, differences between Shabbat and Yom Tov, the Mishnah said all Shabbat prohibitions, both biblical and rabbinic, so both Doraitas and Rabbanans, apply to Yom Tov as well, except for this category known as Ochel Nefesh, those that are needed for eating, for food preparation to eat. Okay, and we're gonna show how much that is also. Now, according to Bet Hillel, there are certain items, certain malachot that you're allowed to do for cooking, and you're allowed to do it for everything else. And the Gemara brought down an example of carrying, right? So mitoch I can carry for ochel nefesh, right? Since I can carry for ochel nefesh, I can carry for other things as well. Now, how far does this go? How far does this mitoch go? So the Ramban wants to say malachot are forbidden Yom Tov are those that are known as malachat avodah, but malachet oneg, malacha for oneg, that's permissible. That's the Ramban's differentiation. Rabbi Eliezer of Metz in the Sefer Yereim, he says, since the pasuk says Asher Yochal L'chol Nefesh, and not just food, but for every Yom Tov need. That's Rabbi Eliezer of Metz. So he says mitoch can work for everything. Anything that I could enjoy, any malacha, that's for Yom Tov, I can do. Right. Tosfot says so far, if a person's house fell down, it goes so far that if a person's house fell down, he's allowed to build it back up on Yom Tov. Why? Because you're allowed to make cheese, and making cheese is like boneh, is like building. So since it's a food malacha, I can fix my house.
I don't see the...
Yeah. Well, we don't practice like this, la halacha, but... Yeah, mitoch, I can do binyan.
בניין יש עבודה.
You need a house.
יש בניין ארעי שזה צ'יז, ויש בניין קבע שזה בית. לא.
So anyway, so the Rambam is like you, Reb Chaim. He's not very happy of taking this to everything, because you can say every malacha is somewhat of a food malacha, and then you can do anything. Mitoch, I can do it here, I can do it there. The Rambam says the principle of mitoch only works for 2 malachot. Okay, so the Rambam, and this is the way Shulchan Aruch paskins as well, only for the malachot of kindling havarar, to make fire, and for hotzah, for carrying. These are the two melachot that you say mitoch. Because I can light a candle, because I can make a candle get lit on Yom Tov for food, I can make it get lit for other needs on Yom Tov. Since I can carry for food, I can carry other things for Yom Tov as well. Okay, that's the Rambam, that's the Shulchan Aruch.
And we go with the Rambam.
Yes. The Me'ini says mitoch really should work for anything that's regularly performed for food preparation, but it's not the way we paskin. Okay, last week we mentioned this slightly. I just want to elaborate a little more. This is on the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says both biblical and rabbinical malacha are forbidden in Yom Tov, right? So therefore, you're not allowed to ask a guy to do it on Yom Tov either. Okay, but there is a difference. Okay, not a difference on Achav Emir Lanachri. It's the same din Shabbat and Yom Tov. That what? When are you allowed to ask a Nachri to do something? When it's one of the time you'll ask is when it's Shvut, the Makom Mitzvah, Makom Tzarich, Makom Hafsid, right? One of these things you're allowed to do. Okay, so one Shivut is one Derabanan is telling the guy to do it. That's one Derabanan, right? That's always one Derabanan. Where's the other Derabanan? Now, all these malachot, right? All these malachot, if you say really you're allowed to do them, right? You're really allowed to do them, but the Rabbanan said you cannot do them. Because really, mitoch maybe should apply for everything. Any malacha I can do on Yom Tov for food. So I can really do it for anything else. So then you're telling me that almost every malacha is really derabanan. And if it's derabanan, so I have shvut, the makom mitzvah, makom tzara, makom hafsid, and the person will be able to tell the guy to do certain things. We'll see how this plays inside. But it has to be from some valid tzarech mitzvah or something like that, because of the hafsid.
Tzarech gadol.
Yeah, tzarech gadol. Shosh shvut b'makom mitzvah. Okay, now, the Gemara told us, can a person go and catch fish on Yom Tov?
No.
Right? Right. So where does that extension Ochel Nefesh go to?
Already decided.
So very good. So
no, it's because it's not mukhan. It's not mukhan. You have to have it like the chayot bite. You have them already in your vicinity.
Correct.
Then you can have. But the fish could be now here, now there.
Right. So if it's already under human control,
right,
then you can take it and use it on Yom Tov. But to go to the pond and start taking fish out, that you cannot do. Why? So Rashi says, because you should have trapped the animals or the fish before Yom Tov. Now you cannot do it on Yom Tov. So it depends.
If you can put your hand and take it, yes.
So if they say what you can do is
talking about
if you put it in your aquarium in a net, right? So it can swim around, but it's in a net. And then you can just pull the net out with the fish. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if I have a small fish swimming in the aquarium and I can't get it in one grab, then you can't.
if you go with the חכה, שם אוכל, זורק את זה, אתה לא יודע מתי הוא יבוא, איזה דג יבוא.
So the Rambam, take a look at the Rambam and page 105, number 3 over there. The Rambam says any milacha that can be performed before Yom Tov without detriment, I mean, it's not going to get ruined on Yom Tov because I did it before,
you should do it.
Is rabbinically forbidden on Yom Tov. Yeah. To ensure that one can celebrate Yom Tov appropriately. So a lot of things that I could have done before Yom Tov is the Rabbanan Asur on Yom Tov. So that means that this grabbing the fish, perhaps I should have done it before Yom Tov, but I didn't. I cannot do it on Yom Tov, the Rabbanan. That means perhaps I can tell a guy to do it if I really need that fish, right? Shvus to shvus, b'makam mitzvah. Not telling you to use the guy in any of these cases, but just showing you once it becomes the Rabbanan, you have what to work with. The Ravan, he says, you know why he wanted to do things before Yom Tov? Is because what's it called? Yom Tov is meant to celebrate. And that's what the Rambam says. You want to, what's it called, celebrate Yom Tov appropriately. If you're going to be running after the fish and doing all the things, you're not going to be able to celebrate Yom Tov. The Ravan says you're doing extra work on Yom Tov.
Right.
Now, the Rosh, if you take a look at number 5, the Rosh says, according to Rashi, maybe trapping animals on Yom Tov is deoraita asur. But he says, I don't think that's true. It's only Derabanan because it's of the Dechol. And that's why you can't do it. That's what they want you to do before Yom Tov. So on Yom Tov, it's only Derabanan. Take a look at source number 7 on page 105. One may perform Shulchan Aruch speaking. One may perform melachot to prepare food on Yom Tov, even if the food would taste just as good if prepared before Yom Tov. Shulchan Aruch lets you, what's it called, do stuff on Yom Tov that you could have easily done before Yom Tov. All right, but from which stage? We already said last time, from Lisha onward, which was kneading dough and onward. That you can do on Yom Tov. The stuff before that, like driving in your car to bingo, you can't do on Yom Tov. You can't do that stuff, right? There's stuff that are what we're going to translate. We're going to say as house chores, stuff that you do in the house for preparation for food. Stuff that are done in the store, stuff that are done in the factory, stuff that are done out in the fields, that you cannot do on. Those are preliminary, all right? It's the preparations for eating, and it's not actual stuff to do there. Now, what about stuff that could be done on Yom Tov, but it could also be done before Yom Tov? There's a machlokes Shulchan Aruch and Ramah. Shulchan Aruch says, as long as it's home chores, and even though I could do it before Yom Tov, I can still do it on Yom Tov.
It's your choice.
Right. The Ramah says no. Once you could do it before Yom Tov, and it's not going to lose its quality, you have to do it before Yom Tov. And if you didn't do it before Yom Tov, then on Yom Tov you have to do it with a shinui, with some sort of change. And we saw the Pnei Halacha told us what type of changes it have to be. Any small change at all.
That's why the Ashkenazim,
right,
today, because we have freezers and
so very good.
And everything else, a lot of the work they do before you.
So Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach dealt with this. He said, refrigerators. I can store things.
Yeah.
So do I have to now cook everything before Yom Tov because I have refrigerators?
Maybe.
Or is refrigerators not a factor here? Because when the Chachamim said, I can do it on Yom Tov, if it's going to be it's going to get somewhat ruined before Yom Tov if I do it.
There is another factor.
So Shlomo Zalman said we don't look at refrigerators.
No, there's another.
Don't look at refrigerators. Even if you have a refrigerator, he says you don't look at it.
I understand, but another.
The only things that you have to do before Yom Tov are stuff that can last without a refrigerator. If it only lasts with the refrigerator, he says you can do it on Yom Tov without a shinui. That's what Shlomo Zalman. So you don't have to bring your refrigerator and stuff into the cheshbon.
But the cheshbon is about Simchat Yom Tov. You don't want to visit the whole day cooking.
Right.
So
they freeze everything, and then on Yom Tov they take everything out and they warm it up. Say what? Even Sfaradim. Yeah. So Chamavadia says that really you should do everything before Yom Tov if possible. If you didn't, you can definitely do it on Yom Tov. But if you're doing it on Yom Tov, it's better to do it with a shinui. But if you didn't do it with a shinui, it's also fine. Because the Shulchan Aruch and Shulchan Aruch say you don't have to do it with a shinui. Even if something you could do beforehand, you can do it on Yom Tov even without a shinui. And what makes something detrimental if it's done before Yom Tov and after? So this Kechua, it says anything at all. Quality, the color, the appearance, the smell, whatever you want, right? There are certain things you cannot do the night before, right? The day before. Right, fried foods. Let's say French fries. French fries, it's got to be fresh. No? Is it possible to do it beforehand?
If you eat French fries.
What's the tricks of the trade?
We don't eat French fries.
No, I'm just saying, like.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're picky,
exactly.
So no. So as long as there's any detrimental that you can notice any difference, color, taste, whatever it is, you have a right to do an on Yom Tov without a shinu. That's what Piskei Teshuvah says. So, like avocado cutting beforehand. I mean, I don't know if there's no problem with cutting avocado, but say like something mashing avocado, right? Or mashing potato or stuff like that, where if you leave it out, it can get discolored, right? So then there's justification to do it on Yom Tov because it's going to be somewhat detrimental. Okay, so this was the review of last week. So Be'ezrat Hashem, now we're going to start the new sugya. We're on page 87, Rabotai. Page 87. Okay. On page 87, we are starting now the new sugya. We just finished the review. Lighting and extinguishing a fire on Yom Tov. So we all know that unlike Shabbat, on Yom Tov, we get to use fire to an extent. So, and we saw the Rambam said one of the mitochs is havara, is making a fire. So you may think I can make a fire from scratch.
No.
So the Gemara tells us, it's Mishnah actually, the Mishnah tells us that is not true. When we say you can use a fire, it doesn't mean a fire from scratch, making it all anew.
Can make nolad.
Let's take a look.
A new fire is a nolad.
Let's take a look. Says the Mishnah, we're on source 27. En motziin et ha'ur, we may not produce fire, lo min ha'itzim v'lo min ha'avanim, not from wood and not from stones. You know, sometimes they take the wood and they make it like this and they can make the fire.
Yeah. Well,
And sometimes you have the flintstones that you can make a spark and make a fire, right?
What is the etzim?
What?
And motzim me'a'itzim.
Yeah, min ha'etzim.
How you take from the etzim?
So I saw they have these survival kit shows and stuff like this where they put like this log and they take another stick and they into the other wood and they go back and forth. The friction causes, and then they put like hay around it, and then the spark goes from the friction.
I thought something much easier.
Yeah.
I thought was a coals. Coals, they don't have a fire, but they are coals. If you take something and put some wind, then you bring the fire up.
That's fine.
It's fine.
That's fine. On Yom Tov.
Or
I'm not making
there's
any
no
fire.
there. There's no
No, there is a fire.
You don't see the fire. Where is the
Doesn't
fire?
make a difference. There's a fire there.
That's why it says אין מוציאים.
זה כחלק או זה לא כחלק?
מה?
אם יש אש, זה אתה מדבר.
תראה, הייתה אש, ועכשיו מת. זה מת.
לא מת. If it's a מת, if it's
מדליק
מת,
אותו.
it's not going to come back up. If it's מת, it's not going to come back up.
לא, אתה עושה עם הרוח, אתה מביא אותו בחזרה.
No, it doesn't. If it's dead, it's dead. It doesn't come back up. It has to be someone alive.
I never heard such a thing. You take wood and put it together.
Yes, it can. It can be. So wood,
You gotta go camping.
stones,
I was in camping many times.
לא מן העצים, ולא מן האבנים.
There is no such a thing. You can take two woods and make a fire.
You can. Go on YouTube, you'll see it. ולא מן העפר, and not from earth. Okay, certain types of hardened earth, when excavated, produce sparks, says Rashi. ולא מן harafim, and not from tiles.
Afar, avanim, all these I understand. Why? If it's a hot day, you put a piece of
Right.
piece of paper. You put and
it can spark.
You got a fire.
ולא מן המים, and you cannot make fire from the water. I make fire from the water.
I don't know.
Okay, so fire from the water,
In English.
right?
Placed in round glass vessel.
Right.
Produces fire by focusing the rays of the sun.
Right, that's what Rashi says. So it's in a glass dish, like right when you have the microscope, what's it called? No, what's the magnifying glass, right? The glasses, and you take it, right? So you have
on the water.
Yeah, so there's water inside. It acts like the glass, in a glass, and it acts to put the rays together and start the fire.
Fire and water goes together. That's what I know.
You see, from water you can make fire.
יורד עליו. כמו מגנפיים גלאס, ואז נותן לנייר או לאש.
Whatever, yeah.
כן?
Yep.
צריך לנסות, לראות אם זה עובד.
Okay, maybe we'll make a project this summer during camp time. We'll make fires from all these things. Okay. All right. So that's what the Mishnah said. So we cannot make fire. So the Gemara later on asks, why is this? Why is that I cannot make fire? What's the reason? Mishum deka molid b'yom tov. Because he is creating on Yom Tov. Right? And so what's the problem with creating? Molid, you're creating something on Yom Tov, you cannot have that.
Right.
The Rambam, interestingly, when the Rambam brings down the halacha, he does not say that. So I don't know what the Rambam did with this Gemara. Well, listen to what the Rambam said. Shlo hutar b'yom tov el havir me'esh mitzvah. That's already there. It's in existence. אבל להמציא אש אסור. שהרי אפשר להמציא אותה מבערב. He says because you could have prepared the fire beforehand.
Yeah, this is what we do.
But he didn't say anything about being molid, about
No.
being being something new.
About the
Look at Rambam. Look at the Rambam, source 29. The Rambam says it's usher to take out a fire to make a new fire on Yom Tov. Why? Because you could have done it before Yom Tov. Nothing to do with it being a new creation of Yom Tov on Yom Tov.
So what's the problem here? I don't understand.
The Rambam's not saying like the Gemara. The Gemara said Matama Mishum Dekam only be Yom Tov.
Yeah.
The Rambam says it's Asur Shahare Efsher Lamtzi Otami Ba'erev because you were allowed to do it beforehand. It's a preliminary stage of fire. You should have done it beforehand. Nothing to do with Molid.
So he's saying also.
No, it's not the same
Rambam
thing.
says also, don't make a fire in Yom Tov. You could do it before.
Because you could do it because you could do it before. That's why it's Asur. That's why it's Asur. Yeah. So it's Asur on Yom Tov because I could do it before Yom Tov. That's why it's Asur.
Yeah, but they're talking about two different things, I think.
No. Each one is saying why.
He says if you're gonna make a fire in Yom Tov, you molid. That's the Gemara.
Right.
And Rambam says, don't make a molid in Yom Tov. Make it a night before. That's it. He's agreed. It's a molid.
No.
That's how I understand.
So actually, there you'll see the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam. They don't really have molid being an issue of something being created. And in fact, here's the question: the guy couldn't make a fire before Yom Tov.
Lahamtzi, you know what is
hold on. Here's the
Lahamtzi
question.
is molid. אבל להמציא אש אסור. להמציא is molid.
Okay.
להמציא.
Forget and read next.
Create.
Read next.
What?
Why is it asur?
אבל להמציא אש אסור.
Yeah.
שהרי
אפשר.
להמציא,
Yeah.
you can have a fire a night before.
Okay.
So
not because it's molid. That's because I could have done it beforehand.
אבל הוא עושה, אבל להמציא אש אסור. That's the molid.
No, that's making a fire.
What do you know what להמציא?
I know
להמציא is to create. To create.
But he doesn't.
Molid is also
Okay.
create.
Okay, I'm going to explain one more time.
Okay.
Try to get it. Here it says as follows. Masechet Betzah says, why can't I make a fire? Not because I could do it before Yom Tov. That's not the reason why it says it. Masechet Betzah says, Mishum dekam olid b'Yom Tov. Because I'm creating on Yom Tov and I cannot create.
So
that's not what the Rambam says. The Rambam says,
Masechet Betzah tells you why is Avera. The Avera is because you molid b'Yom Tov.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And
tell
what does the
you
Rambam say?
what you could do before. The Rambam tells you, I give you etzah, do it Erev Yom Tov. That's it.
So I'll tell you as follows. The Rambam and the Chida and others say nothing about Molid. They don't say this is the issue.
Okay, fine.
They say the issue is because you could have done it before Yom Tov. And therefore, they say if a person could not have made a fire before Yom Tov because he was in jail, because he was put up something else, they say he's allowed to go and make a fire on Yom Tov. He's allowed to strike a match and make fire. Because they see the Isser being, like the Rambam said, and since I couldn't do it in the Erev, in the day before, I'm allowed to do it on Yom Tov itself. If you go strictly with the way the Gemara in Betzah says it, that because it's Molid, then I'm not allowed. Who cares I didn't do it before or not? It's Molid. I'm not allowed to do Molid.
But the Rambam cannot go against the Mishnah.
So maybe, some want to say, when the Rambam is saying that Molid is only an issue because I could have done it beforehand. So it's Molid is an issue because I could have done it beforehand. So if I couldn't do it beforehand, Molid is not an issue. That's the way he wants to read the Gemara. This is brought down here in the note 31. If you want to take a look, he brings the Maser Rokeach and the Rashba, who says this is the way to understand the Rambam. And the Rambam is saying that Molid is only an issue if I could have done it before Yom Tov. And Molid is not an issue if I could not have done it before Yom Tov. And that's why the halacha brings down.
Is Molid and Boneh is the same thing?
No.
It's not?
No.
Okay. It says over here in the note, because he creating something. Creating something.
Creating and building is two different things. Creating is creating something that was not there beforehand. Building is using the stuff that are there. But here, I'm just going to read to you from the halacha and the Yalkut Yosef. He says, like somebody was in jail v'kayotzebo, mutar lahotzi esh beyom tov. He's allowed to be motzi the esh beyom tov. Who does this go according to? Like the Rambam, like the Hida, and like others who say the whole issue is about because I could have prepared it beforehand and I didn't. Right? That's why I'm not allowed to make any Yom Tov. But if I had no chance to do it beforehand, one is allowed to do it on Yom Tov. Okay. Now, we have next. What do we do? So what do we do to circumvent all these issues? We light a 3-day candle, a 2-day candle. We light a long-lasting candle. And this way, we can take from the candle and use it for other fires. Me'esh le'esh, right? We do me'esh le'esh. And that's how one can use fire on Yom Tov. So take a look at the laws of Yom Tov in source 30. One may only light something from an existing fire. Lighting a match from a lit candle is permitted. When lighting a match from a fire, one should place the match directly into the flame and not ignite it from the heat of the flame. It's better to put it into the fire and not be enclosed and let it spark and start that way. It's better to put it into the fire and let it get on flame. However, if you have start to do that, you're allowed to let it spark up. You're allowed to put a match on something that's hot for it to just spark up. If you can't do it directly into the fire. When lighting something through an existing flame, one should not use an intermediary, something in between. Why? Since you don't need a thing in between. It's lighting something for no purpose. But if it's too difficult, right? You can't get to the flame without a long stick, matchstick, whatever. One could do it. There is a question about the yahrzeit candle. A person wants to light a candle, Leilui Nishmat. Is it a tzarech Yom Tov need or not? So some poskim want to say it's not a tzarech Yom Tov need.
The what? What's the
a yahrzeit candle, Leilui Nishmat.
Yes.
Can I light it on Yom Tov? Remember, mitoch.
On Yom Tov itself.
Yeah.
You could, אפשר להעביר אש.
Why?
Why not?
Is it you have a Yom Tov tzarech with it? Is it a tzarech Yom Tov?
More light.
No, but I'm lighting it Leilui Nishmat. I'm not lighting it to get light from it. I'm lighting it Leilui Nishmat.
We have over here this mitoch.
What?
Mitoch.
For a tzarech Yom Tov.
I think I
learned that
every fire you make in Yom Tov, it is okay to do it just because but
it has to be for a tzarech. You cannot just light fires for no reason. You're not allowed to do that on Yom Tov. That's asur. Okay, so there's some poskim who say no, lighting Nishmat is not a tzarech, and so you shouldn't do it. And if you have to do it in shul where it's going to be used or something like that. Others say no, I need it. It's make me feel better. I'm lighting for my whatever, my this, my that, and it is a tzarech Yom Tov. Allah l'maisa, we allow it because it is somewhat of a tzarech, and therefore we would be okay with.
We do before Yom Tov the same thing like the Nerot.
No, let's say it's the second night of Yom Tov or second day of Yom Tov, and I want to light a Leilui Nishmat, a family member.
This is the day. That's the yahrzeit day.
Yeah. So there is machloket about it, but we paskin say that it's going to be okay. Better to use it somewhat. Here, just read some halachot out of the laws of Shabbat. He says one may even light a match that is not touching the fire itself, such as the fire is under a glass and one puts the match on top of the hot glass. However, preferably one should light the match from an actual fire. So we saw that. In case of a need, one may ask a non-Jew to create a new fire by striking a match, right? Because it's shvut to shvut, b'makom mitzvah. Same thing, you're allowed to tell a guy to turn on an appliance or a fan or an air conditioner on Yom Tov. Shvut to shvut, b'makom tzarech, mitzvah, it's an onig of Yom Tov, so one would be allowed to tell a guy to do those stuff. If you're not allowed to you're not allowed to make a new fire on Yom Tov, but somebody did, can I use that fire now?
Yeah.
Halakha is yes. You're allowed to use a fire once it was already made. You're not allowed to make it, but once it was made.
Can I ask the question?
Yeah.
The question is, Nerot Shabbat, I understand, we מדליקים לצורך Shia Or, Shalom Bayit,
Okay.
and all this. What about Yom Tov? Yom Tov, where it says we have to put Nerot Yom Tov for Yom Tov.
What do you mean where it says?
In Shabbat is Shalom Bayit. Yom Tov also is Shalom Bayit.
Okay, why not?
No,
It's onig. It's
no,
onig.
I'm asking
It's
because,
onig. It's kavod.
because no, because I'm asking because we had the Nerot of your side, so just want to see.
Yeah. The Nerot of Yom Tov
if
is
Yom
the
Tov
Rabbanan
is
made us do
Metzoreh,
this.
so maybe this also.
And it's done for onig and kavod. You're right. It's done for onig and kavod. Now he writes over here: it's forbidden to light a candle that serves no purpose for Yom Tov, even if the candle is lit from an existing fire. So to just stop light candles for no reason, one cannot do it.
Maybe for birthday, there is no reason.
Maybe it is a reason, enjoying the birthday cake. It's permissible to light a candle from existing fire in the memory of someone who passed away. Preferably, the candle should be lit in the Beit HaKnesset. Similarly, one may light candles in honor of a Brit Milah if one has a custom to do so. One may light a candle from existing fire on Yom Tov if one's house is dark and one needs light. One is permitted to light a candle from an extra fire to light other fires. To light a candle for an extra fire to light other fires for cooking food on Yom Tov and other Yom Tov needs. So if there is any tzarich, you're allowed to do from one fire to the next. If there's no tzarich at all, so then you can't do it.
Okay.
For example, there isn't a no tzarich at all. During the day, I have the lights on, right? And I'm just going to put on a fire. I'm not allowed to do that from fire to fire. That I'm not allowed to do on Yom Tov. It has to be some sort of tzarich. Okay, now we come into the big part of the shir, which is really the extinguishing of the fire. Okay, now we saw when it came to Shabbat, if you remember Hilchot Shabbat, we said that extinguishing a fire that's not dangerous, you're not allowed to do on Shabbat. Remember, you're not allowed to extinguish a fire. You have to let it run its course. Sometimes you're allowed to indirectly extinguish it, but Malcolm hefset, right? If it's going to cause a lot of damage, you can put bottles with water inside and then it'll stop the fire like that. What about Yom Tov? Can a person extinguish a fire on Yom Tov or not?
If it's a kanaya?
So, if sakana, always. Shabbat also, if it's a sakana, you can shut it down. But what about if it's not a sakana? It's a fire there. Can I extinguish it? So there's a Gemara, Mesecha Betzah, on source 31, I will tell you. This is Daf Chav Bet Amud Aleph. And it says as follows.
So I did the right thing. In Pesach, we had a fire in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It was making a lot of smoke. So I right away put it away because you never know what can happen. It could be like the kitchen can go on fire.
100%. If it's sakana, you shut it down.
Was a big fire. So
okay, here I will tell you. Take a look at Gemara. Boy mine Abba bar Marta me Abayo. Mahu lechabot taner mepnei davar acher.
Yeah.
Can I shut down the fire for the davar acher? Davar acher is
in the bedroom.
Right, in the bedroom. Okay, so you're not allowed to be intimate with the lights on,
right?
To that extent. So he wants to shut off the light, right. And it's Yom Tov. So can he shut it? So you don't have the whole Gemara over here, so I'll just read the Gemara, the whole. Just listen to me. So Amar Lo Abai says to him, "After B'vayit Dacher, do you have another room?" He says, "Ein Lo B'vayit Dacher." After Lasot Mechitza, can you make mechitza? Ein Lo Lasot Mechitza. After Lichpot Alavet Keli, can you put a keli over it? Ein Lo Keli. What's the law? Can I shut it down or not? So Amar Le, that continues now here in the Tzurba. Asur, it's forbidden. So Etive, he challenged him. It says, we will not extinguish a piece of wood in order to save it. However, the purpose is in order to the house or a pot of food not become smoking,
black.
Okay, mutar. Then it is mutar. So we see that one may extinguish a fire on Yom Tov for any Yom Tov need.
Right.
It should therefore be permitted to extinguish a fire in order to omit the davar acher on Yom Tov. So Amar Le, Abai said back to him, Hahi Rabbi Yehudahi. This says Rabbi Yehuda, who permits labor on Yom Tov even for the hechsher of ochel nefesh, the beginning stages. So it would indeed be permitted to extinguish a flame, because he allows you to take out a fire because you're preparing coals for the food. But I'm saying, according to the Rabbanon, and according to the Rabbanon, you're not allowed to do these coal preparation, and therefore you're not allowed to shut down the fire, and therefore, says the Gemara, is asur to shut down a fire on Yom Tov. To shut down a fire on Yom Tov. It says the Rif. Right. So says the Rif in the bold. Asur, it's asur to extinguish a piece of wood, either to save it or so that the house or pot not become smoky. You're not allowed to shut down that fire.
Yeah, but the Rif is masking with Rabbi Yehuda.
Okay, so but he comes out el asur lechabot the habikat, right? Habakaat,
yeah,
the piece of wood. Ben lachos aleya, whether you want to save it. Ben shaloi ta'ashen habayit or kedera hakol asur. It is all asur to shut down fire on Yom Tov. Asur, you're not allowed to do that. The Rambam also prohibits extinguishing the piece of wood for any purpose other than preventing danger to human life. If it's sakana, or I have any reason to believe it's sakana, I can shut it down.
Yeah.
But if it's not, I cannot shut it down. The Rush writes that the only way one can avoid burning food is by lowering the flame, then maybe it's permitted. Because extinguishing for the purpose of cooking can be considered ochel nefesh. Okay, you're not allowed to shut down the fire.
Yeah.
But if shutting down the fire is part of ochel nefesh, maybe I can do it. That's what the Rush wants to say. So take a look in the Rush.
Well, what about the Rif? You finished with the Rif?
Yeah. The main part was the part in bold, that it's usher to shut it down. Now the Rush comes and says, "Vim ein lo eish v'tzarich levasha kidarato be'eish zeh vim lo yichaved t'ashena ketera mutar lechabot letzarich ochel nefesh." Okay, he says, "K'moshe mutar levasha v'lafot." So if one has no other fire and needs to cook his pot on the fire, and if he does not partially extinguish it, he's saying partially extinguish it, it's submitted to extinguish the purpose of food preparation. So I'm allowed to lower the fire. That's what the Rush wants to say.
Wow.
I'm allowed to lower the fire because it's part of how I cook. Sometimes you have foods, you have to start it on a medium fire or a high fire, but then as you cook, you got to bring it down to a lower, to a simmer.
You don't want it to
exactly
to burn.
So says the Shulchan Aruch, and here's the halacha l'maaseh. Look at the Shulchan Aruch in source 34. Asol chabot delikah b'yom tov. Extinguishing a fire is forbidden Yom Tov. Afilu im ro'eh beito shnisaref, even if he sees that his house is burning. Im en sham sakanat nefashot. As long as there's no sakanat nefashot, you have to let everything burn. The en, and what? You're not extinguish a piece of wood, even in order to prevent it from becoming smoky, or in order to right? You're not allowed to shut down the fire for that. It says the Ramah. Dafka im efshel hatzil ketera beloy kiwi. Aval im efshel hatzil ol vashel ketera beinyan acher. Rak shichaveh mutar lechabot v'chein nirali ikar. Says the Rama, if the only way to save the food is to what's it called? Extinguish the fire, that becomes mutar. The Magen Avraham says, Im efshar, if it's possible, what should you do? Yachol la'asot esh b'makom acher. Second, you're telling me you need a smaller fire right now? So don't shut down the big fire, says Magen Avraham. Make another small fire. That's what the Magen Avraham says to do. However, the Iglot Moshe, Rav Moshe Feinstein, and it's a beautiful little biographical sketch over here on the page, if a person has time later to read it, says Rav Moshe Feinstein that he says, why would you want to do that? If the food will burn before it cooks due to the size of the fire, extinguishing is necessary for cooking itself. And even according to the Chachamim, it's certainly permitted to extinguish part of the fire and to lower it in order to cook. This is a situation regarding lowering the fire of the gas, and one cannot distinguish between lighting a new small flame and extinguishing by lowering the flame. Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, what's the difference if I shut down half the flame or I start a new flame to make a small flame? There's no difference in there. I'm doing something for the food. It's all for Ochel Nefesh. So whichever way it is, it's Ochel Nefesh. So either way, it's fine. And he says you don't have to make a new fire. You can just lower it. Says the Chamuvadia in the Yeviyah Omer, okay, he says, now remember, in the Shulchan Aruch, he didn't say you can lower it for food. That was the Ramah. So what do we Sfaradim? We usually follow the Shulchan Aruch. What about us? So said the Yeviyah Omer, and Suas 37, you're allowed to be lenient if it's necessary for the cooking, to reduce the flame so that it will cook properly. Because if it stays strong, it's going to ruin the food. In the Shulchan Aruch, right? Because usher to take out the fire. Nevertheless, for the halacha, you can do a tziruf. There are 3 rabbinic prohibitions you can add together, and therefore you can be mekel. What are these 3 rabbinical reasons? You can take a look on top on page 92. You have 1, 2, and 3. Number 1, our gas stoves, you don't make charcoal. I mean, the whole issue with shutting down a fire is that they made charcoal from it. You can use it again. When you shut down a gas, there's no charcoal made, number 1. Number 2, this is malacha she'enet sicha legufa. It's not performed for the malacha. I'm shutting down the fire. I'm not making it for charcoal again. It's not for gufa of the malacha. And number 3, and he wants to say perhaps it's a grama, right? Turning a knob or on the cooker may be considered indirect and therefore be permissible. So the Yeviyah Omer, Chamuvadia, says we can paskin like the Ramah with our stovetops and our cooking stuff, and to lower the flame if need be, in order.
It is grama, because with what you do with the knob, you are giving more gas or less gas.
Right.
So it's not really the fire.
The fire, it's the gas.
You are really just closing the hole, closing a little bit the hole, opening it the hole.
Right. So just read you from the laws of Shabbat. Just put this into perspective. He says as follows: it's forbidden to extinguish a flame in Yom Tov. One may not even extinguish a flame to prevent a financial loss. Right? Are you allowed to tell a guy to shut down the fire for a financial loss? Shvut to shvut. But welcome hefsid. All right? Perhaps it'll be permissible. But anyway, generally, one may not lower the flame on a stovetop on Yom Tov. However, if the food will burn before it's properly cooked because the flame is too large, one may lower the flame. In such a situation, lowering the flame is considered a direct necessity for food preparation. Okay? So lowering the flame to help with the food process, that is fine. Okay. Is there any other way to extinguish the fire, and perhaps extinguishing it all the way? Because here we're saying lowering it. When you're lowering it for the food, you lower it. You're not allowed to shut it down completely. Right?
Not direct, because distinguish not direct.
Okay. So indirect extinguishing.
Exactly. They used to do it with the coffee, with other things.
How they did it?
Just overflow the water.
Okay. So very good.
It doesn't work.
All right. People say that.
Sure.
Rabbi says it doesn't work either. I didn't play around with it.
No. With the coffee, it works. Maybe with just water, it's not. But the coffee goes all over.
Try it with coffee. Let me know.
Black coffee.
I don't play with these things, but Tosafot. There's a Tosafot in Beitza. There's a Gemara in Beitza that says that if a person takes away oil from the fire, so there's a fire, there's an oil, there's a wick on top, right? And he goes and he takes oil from it.
Right.
So the Gemara says, he's extinguishing the fire. Now, says Tosfot, but grama kibui b'yom tov shari. Alpha pi shemamaher kibuya. Even though you were going to extinguish it, but through grama, indirectly you're allowed to. So how does Tosfot understand this Gemara?
Maybe the other one was for Shabbat.
No.
Was
Mr.
for Yom Tov?
Is on Yom Tov.
Yom Tov.
The way they explain this Tosfot
Direct.
is I saw as follows. He wants to say here in the Yalkut Yosef, he says,
like was very little oil.
At the moment that he removes oil from the lamp, it already extinguishes the fire partially.
Exactly.
Since the oil climbing up the wick and burning dips momentarily, and the oil and the burning dips momentarily, and the lamp burns less brightly for a moment. And this is an act of mechabeh. And therefore, it's going to be chayav. But stam grama, causing it without causing that happening, for example, that it's permissible to cut off the lower section of a burning candle. I have a long wax candle, and I cut it.
Right.
So it's going to be extinguished faster. According to Tosefot, that's permissible.
Right.
Because I didn't do mechabeh. I just grama made it stop earlier.
Not for the moment. With the oil was a little bit oil, and you took it out, so it's mechabeh. But over here with the candle, if you cut it, you still have other kind, more candle.
Right. So that's why Tosfot understand it. However, Rabbeinu Asher, the Rosh, he says no. Once you cut down the time, it's considered that you are cutting down the fire.
It's not direct. It's indirect.
Ruin is always considered an act of mechabes as it caused the fire to go out earlier. That's the way the Rabbeinu Asher understands it. He says, no, that is direct. So you have to know what is direct and what is not direct. But the Magen Avraham, they say no. And Magen Avraham says, when Tosfot said you're allowed to indirectly extinguish a fire, that's only b'makom hefset, when you're going to be losing something. All right? But stam, you're not allowed to do that. The Mishnah Berurah rules, b'makom she'ruach sholet, rotzonon lomar she'achol lishlok she'avo v'ta'am ha'heter mishum de'enu ele garam kibui ba'alma. Can I take a candle outside? Right? So Mishnah Berurah says I can take the candle outside. Why can I take the candle outside? When I take it out when it's not windy, right? It's not windy at the second I take it out, so there's a fire. And then later on, a wind comes and blows it out. Now what? I didn't make it go out. It's indirectly coming out. Because when I took it out, it was lasting. Right? That's what Mishnah Berurah says. So, and it's going to be mutar. And in the Sharat Tziyun, he explains that even on Shabbat, the Ramah only prohibits causing gerama kibui based on a lone view, and accordingly, one certainly may act leniently on Yom Tov. Sharat Tziyun wants to say that no one else says this. Only the Ramah says you can't do it unless it's a hefset. And really, garam kibui is mutar lechatchila on Yom Tov. So you have here Machoket Magen Avraham. Mishnah Berurah, what exactly Tosfot means? What the Rosh says you can't. Tosfot says you can. So Shabbat Kechata writes in the name of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach that one should not plan to use Geram Kibui on Yom Tov. You should not plan to indirectly cause the fire to go out. And this leniency should only be used b'diavad, only if you have no other choice, and now it's after the fact. Now, it's important to stress that even according to the Mishnah Berurah, who permits Geram Kibui and Yom Tov, some methods of causing extinguishing are not considered indirect and may be prohibited even in Yom Tov. These methods are called Mikarev Kibui, hastening extinguishing, as opposed to Geram Kibui. So what is indirectly and what is hurrying up, right? This is all technical definitions here. What's hurrying up the extinguishing of the fire, and what is indirectly extinguishing it. And he wants to bring here a Gemara Masechet Shabbat on Daf Mem Zayin, where the Gemara says that placing a bucket full of water under a candle in order to extinguish any sparks that may fall is forbidden, even when places are there before Shabbat. So there's a fire, the sparks are coming out, and you want to put a plate of water underneath it. And the Gemara says you cannot do that.
But this in Shabbat.
Yeah, on Shabbat.
In Shabbat.
Because he wanted to say,
right.
Because you're causing it to quickly
before
extinguish.
Shabbat, it's no problem.
And you're not allowed to do that. He says even from Erev Shabbat.
Erev Shabbat.
Even if it's Erev Shabbat.
Erev Shabbat, this is the time you want this.
The Gemara says even from Erev Shabbat. Because it's extinguishing faster the fire.
But what is mekarev? I want this to light for 2 hours.
Right.
So if I put water, it's going to be 2 hours. If I don't put, it's going to be 8 hours. I don't want for 8 hours.
Usually beforehand, you can do that.
Yeah, I want.
So here he's saying, sparks are coming off, and I have the water plate over there. So now I'm stopping the fire too fast.
Only if it's Shabbat. I don't know. Before Shabbat.
So look here. We're not going to get into the Shabbat issue of this. We're trying just to bring out all these different points of the fire extinguishing problem, just to see how the problem really the problem. Mekarev kiboy is certainly forbidden on Shabbat, even if otherwise the fire may cause damage. Does the same apply to Yom Tov? The Bir Halacha quotes a dispute among Achronim regarding whether one may partially submerge a burning candle in water so that we put out once the candle burns to the water. The question depends on whether Mekarev kiboy is permitted in Yom Tov, and the Bir Halacha concludes that one should rule strictly and not do that. Okay? You're allowed to do that. But then he writes in the end, you should be machmer. So you shouldn't do anything to be mikarev kibui.
Many people doing it today. They put water, and on top of it, they put the oil. Then this way, it's not going to be for.
So he's talking about on Yom Tov, not before lighting, on Yom Tov.
Yeah.
Okay. So can one do that or not? So just to make things a little bit more clearer, we're going to read from the Yalkut Yosef for a second. We'll say, here we go. It's forbidden to extinguish a fire. It's forbidden to shorten a wick of a kerosene lamp or lower the flow of the vapors in the prima stove. If the prima stove is burning high fire and it's necessary to place one spoon on a low flame so it cook properly and not burn, it's permissible. We saw that. It's likewise permissible to lower the flame of a gas stove in such a case. Nevertheless, it's forbidden to extinguish the fire completely after one has finished cooking. You're not allowed to take it off completely. It is permissible, however, to arrange for a fire on a gas stove to become extinguished indirectly. So Yalkut Yosef allows you to be grama, like Tosfot and the others, to do grama. But how? What's the grama? How does the grama work? Okay? So this can be accomplished by filling a small kettle up to the very top with water and placing it on the fire. As it begins to boil, the water will overflow and this to the sides and the kettle and extinguish the fire. One must be careful, however, not to spill any of the water. If that would happen, one would have extinguished the fire. Likewise, one may not push or pull the kettle once it's set on the fire and it's heating up to boil. So you take a look at the Yalkut Yosef is saying the grama has to be not on on the candle.
Oh, not on the gun.
Not on the candle. Meaning, to take away the oil or to cut the candle, I'm doing what? I'm touching the candle. That could be maybe mikarev kibui. Grama for kibui is where something else is causing it to come out. I'm not touching the candle itself. That's the hidush over here. Once the fire is extinguished, right now I can shut off the gas. Okay. So just to mention before, it's forbidden generally to extinguish a fire on top. In fact, it's forbidden to even cause a burning candle to go extinguished indirectly by placing something around the candle, so the fire will go out. It is likely forbidden to cut off the lower section from the candle. Either of these actions is permitted if it's performed before the candle is lit. So on Yom Tov, I'm allowed to do something to the candle before I light the candle. On Yom Tov, I can do something to the candle before I light the candle. But once I lit the candle, I can't do anything to the candle.
Yeah,
okay? That's halakha.
That's better.
Now, how can I cause it indirectly? With this pot of water that goes over it. The only other heter would be if we're worried it's going to be, what's it called, a danger. Okay? So at that point, if it's going to be a danger, you can call a goy, and you can tell the guy to do it, shvut to shvut, and makom hefset, and we're worried about something, then a person can call the guy and he can do it. Just to end off here in the Tzurba, and then I want to look at the quick law in the laws of Shabbat, in the laws of Yom Tov. He says as follows: what about a Shabbat timer? Can I change the timer on Yom Tov? Whenever altering the action of a Shabbat timer is permitted on Shabbat, permitted also on Yom Tov. So we always said on Shabbat, you're allowed to extend the current state. If it's off, you can extend it. If it's on, you can extend it on, right? On Yom Tov, it's also permitted to cause the timer to connect to electricity earlier.
To make it earlier?
But not to disconnect it earlier. So, because the problem is kibui, right? We don't want to do kibui.
No kibui.
But to start a fire seems to be okay. However, in the Shaila Tshuva of the Yabia Omer, he says, in my humble opinion, it appears that one who wishes to act leniently in this regard, to set a timer on Yom Tov, so the electricity will be disconnected on Shabbat, has a view upon which he can rely. But just to end off, to put everything in perspective, put everything clear over here, we're going to read from the laws of the holidays. He writes as follows. Okay, a quick review, Rabotai, to put everything that we learned to halacha l'maaseh. One is permitted to indirectly extinguish a flame. For example, when we place a pot of full water over the flame, so the water will boil and overflow and thereby extinguish the flame. Once the flame has been extinguished, the gas may be shut off. However, the remaining water in the pot, what do you do with it? It should be used for either drinking or washing on Yom Tov. It's permissible to set a timer before Yom Tov that will turn one's oven on and off over Yom Tov. You're allowed to use the timer. The subject of setting and using a timer on Yom Tov is a subject to debate among poskim. Yechavedat permit one to make the timer turn off earlier than originally set. Shviat Shabbat Kachatat does not let you do that. And one may extend the timer to remain on or off. That we saw. That you're not even doing on Shabbat. So playing around with the timer on Yom Tov, there is what to be more makel than on Shabbat. But definitely what you can do on Shabbat, you can do on Yom Tov when it comes to the timer. So we went through these. And
so you can extend it, but you cannot shorten it. That's why
on Shabbat, on Yom Tov, you can always extend the current state.
Right.
If it's off, I can make it stay off longer.
Right.
If it's on, I can make it stay on longer.
Right.
Always can do that.
Right.
On Yom Tov, the Shmiras Shabbat allows you to cause it to come on earlier, but not to shut it off earlier. Yalkut Yosef says you can even shut it off earlier, but better not to do that. Better not to do that. So we'll end off with everyone's favorite topic on Yom Tov is barbecues. Not in the Tzurba, but based on everything that we learned, we should be able to come up with the halacha of using a barbecue on Yom Tov. Okay, so there are three types of grills that we'll discuss. We have a electric barbecue, we have a coal barbecue grill, and we have a gas. Okay. For the electric barbecue, most people don't use it really outside. I think it's more of an indoor thing, but okay, maybe it's an outside electric. Well, the easiest way to do this is to put it on a Shabbat timer. Put it on a timer. I'm going to come home from 12 o'clock. Yeah, and it goes on. I'm going to use it for 2 hours. 2 o'clock, it shuts off. Done. I can then pull it out of the wall, right? Because there's no more current. I can pull it out of the wall and I can put the grill away. It's not muksa. I used it. It's fine. I can use it and then I can put it away.
No, you can detach it from the.
Yeah, it's not. Once the timer shuts it off, I can detach it, put it away.
Right.
So electric grill on a timer on Yom Tov, not a problem. What about a coal barbecue? A coal grill, which is your mangal that everybody uses. Yeah. So esh, I light the coals from an existing fire. You have to be careful. When you take the fire out of the house, you have to make sure it doesn't blow out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter really.
If it does after I took it out, then it's okay because it's a grumma. But if it blows out the second I take it out, you can't do that. That's you causing it to blow out. So what you have to do, if you want, if you know how to protect the fire, I don't know, with your hands and stuff like that. I once had someone who recommended to me to buy a tea light lantern. You can take the tea light, you put it in the lantern, and you're able to carry it out. And it's protected so it doesn't get blown out. And then from there, you can work on your grill and do what you have to do.
Started doing it. You had that problem when you take the fire right to the edge of your right to the entrance of your house, because obviously there's wind outside. You take paper and you roll it up and make like
Big
and
fire.
make like a avocado, you make like
Torch?
like a torch kind of. Then it's gonna go on very high. It's not gonna get blown out so easily by the fire.
So
You
it's
know,
a
it's
strong fire, so it's not going to get blown out.
Yeah.
Right, right.
But you got to move fast because it's obviously dangerous.
And now you're allowed to move the coals, not a problem. After using the barbecue, you're not allowed to extinguish the coals. You have to let it burn out. You have to let the coals burn out. The hardest grill to deal with on Yom Tov is the gas grill. Okay, why? Because once I started the gas grill, I can lower it in order to prevent the food from getting ruined, but I can't shut it off completely.
There's a special
You can't shut it off completely.
No,
You can't do kibui.
No,
The
there's
only
a
kibui you can
timer.
do is gama. So
There's
what are you gonna do? Put a water pot on top of it and let it come over?
There's a timer for roast.
What?
You put on timer. You put on
You can
timer
shut the gas
and shut the gas. Yes.
via timer.
Yes.
The
Then
gas it's open.
there is something you
It's
build
a valve.
up.
It's a manual valve. There's a timer valve. There's something that's
Turbo skill I bought. It
Oh
cost,
yeah, something like I
it
didn't know.
cost,
Well, if you have a timer, it's not a problem.
It costs about $200.
But it's worth it.
And that's it. You
Right.
know,
So the gas grill, the Maaseh, you're not allowed to extinguish the fire, really. If you don't have this timer, you're not allowed to extinguish the fire.
this is how they do it.
You're going to have to let it burn out all the gas, which is the trouble. If you can claim that it is dangerous to leave this fire on the entire time, so then you can get a guy to come and shut it off, shvut, the makam hefsed, and the sakana, and
So
stuff like that.
So don't start.
Exactly. So when people tell me, "Can I make a barbecue?" I always ask them, "Do you have a mangal? Do you have a charcoal grill?" Because if you're dealing with a gas grill, you're gonna come to the problem of
there's such
kibui.
a thing you buy, and I don't know what, but I know my neighbor.
Here, you know what this thing is that shuts off the gas? You can put it into any gas grill, or
Yeah.
I don't have it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
so you put something in between the tank and the grill,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like a timer thing. It'll go on and then it'll shut it off.
It's like it's an electric thing. And it shuts off the.
So it holds the gas in the tank. It doesn't further the gas in, and it's indirect, and it's set up beforehand. It's not going to be a problem. Not gonna be. Okay. An electric grill uses electricity to heat up. It's like your griddle indoors. Your George Foreman, your Betty Crocker.
Heater.
That's not a barbecue.
Why you take a heater, a winter heater, and put on the feet.
I think sometimes it can work. Listen, when you live in the apartment buildings in Forest Hills and Regal Park, you don't have a place to make a barbecue. And you want to grill something. You have an electric barbecue. That's all what you can do. What else can you use? Right? Okay. Fine. I will tell you. So that's the halachot of fire. Next time we'll go into Teichen and Bayer, Yom and more.
Okay.
We have enough to say Kaddish.
We need one more. One more. Coming.